What an honour. So Gareth Edwards, Brynmor Williams, welcome to the Coffi Lab.
Thank you.
Roastery. And I've got another Brynmor and another Sir Gareth here. We've named these two fabulous creatures in honour of your wonderful achievements for Wales and the British Lions. So say hello. Sir Gareth, meet Sir Gareth.
Hi, Bryn.
Hello.
All right. Is he obedient like me, James?
Yeah. Brynmor, you launched and cut the ribbon, didn't you, on Coffi Lab with Church. Sir Gareth, Coffi Lab Lanician, raising valuable funds for guide dogs and Sir Gareth Edwards Cancer Charity. Thanks so much for that.
Pleasure.
I would imagine you've had loads of things named in your honour. Did I see a train the other day as Sir Gareth Edwards?
Yes, I don't know how far it goes. I think it tends to go most of the time down to Cornwall these days.
I've seen him have lorries as well. I've had a strimmer named after me. In fact, there is a little street in Pen Park, which is the village outside Cardigan where I was raised and where my mum and dad met, and they've named the cul-de-sac Brynmor Close. So I'm really privileged and chuffed with that, of course, in the same way that I'm chuffed that you've named Brynmor after Brynmor.
So we've been thinking about names for the next two tribute dogs, and I was thinking, where do we go next? Should we look for I was thinking a Ian, a Chico Hopkins, maybe a Shane, or even a Cobner. And I wondered if you had to choose two Welsh heroes, who you would choose.
Maybe Mervyn. It's a good Welsh name.
Great...
You know, it would be another of a great hero.
And Mervyn Davies, I mean, he's a giant, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, they didn't discover Mervyn till he was 23. Can't spot anybody these days. You've got to spot them at 16 or they're out of the system. I think that's a good idea, but I've always followed Gareth anyway, you know. Shane is a given in some ways, isn't he? You know, he scored more tries for Wales than anybody else. Yeah. He was a dazzling, entertaining player, wasn't he? Almost as dazzling as Gareth, almost, you know.
Obviously, the Labrador is our spirit animal, inspired by Dylan, my beautiful fox red. I wondered if you've grown up with dogs, if they played a part in your life.
We look after my son's dog, and he's a cockapoo, and he's fantastic, you know, just affectionate. He takes us out on exercises. So I am, he's a part of the family.
Looking down at Dylan, his source of inspiration for me, I sort of reflected on his, we call it the Magnificent Seven virtues that he would display day in, day out: fun, kind, likeable, loyal, dependable, determined, and trustworthy. And what inspires me about you two, I think probably the most prevalent of those virtues would be determined. And I wondered in your careers where you had to really overcome a challenge, what would you say would be one of those moments that was, you know, really difficult for you, that showed grit and determination?
I think the biggest problem for sports people is injuries and overcoming injuries.
Yeah, it's right what's happening. They warm up for half an hour before kick-off. In the days that Gareth and I played, we did 1 to 10 in the dressing room. I can't believe that it took something like 125, 130 years before rugby decided that they could warm up out on the pitch. Yeah. Gareth is right about injuries. Getting over an injury is hugely important, and you've got to be determined and focused. I was fortunate to go on the Lions tour in 1977. Gareth couldn't travel for whatever reason. I think he wanted to stay home with the family, and that's what people did once they'd got 2 or 3 Lions tours. That's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, is to be in a side that beat the All Blacks. But in saying that, we lost the series, but we should have won. It was captained by Phil Bennett, the great Phil Bennett. That's another name for a dog. Phil. Why not? You know, but anyway.
Ultimate high, you've beaten the All Blacks, and then you got punched by a supporter.
Yeah, well, I was jumping up in the air with Peter Wheeler, hugging him. Somebody tapped me on the shoulder. We played the hardest game easily of my life, and tapped me on the shoulder. I looked around thinking that somebody else is going to coach me now. No, I had a whack in the jaw, and down I went, and he jumped on top of me, and I said, put my hand, he was trying to headbutt me. JJ, of all people, you know, was only 10 stone soaking wet. Love him. He jumped on him, and surprised that JJ came in, actually, but he did, in all fairness. And Peter Wheeler dragged him off. Yeah, but that was an ugly incident.
I knew it was the right move for me not to go on that tour.
I want to touch briefly on your fabulous charity, Sir Gareth Edwards Cancer Charity, helping young people through Wales through such a difficult period. Can you tell us just a little bit more?
Well, that's a concept of my daughter-in-law, Ayadlis, who's working day in, day out, gathering the funds, setting out proposals. We've helped a phenomenal amount of young people. I believe it's there's £170,000 that's been allocated to people all throughout Wales.
There was nothing up until now. I mean, the anxiety, you can't imagine the burden that they must have been carrying. And you've got these fabulous team of ambassadors.
Jack Morgan, Ruth Jones,
Martin Williams.
Martin Williams. They've all, without hesitation, stepped forward, and they're a great inspiration as much as the help. Lauren Price, yes, world champion boxing. It makes such a big difference. I've got to say, from the very beginning, it's Iris who drives this all the time. Nobody works harder than she does.
Absolutely, and she leaves an impression on everyone. I mean, she's spoken in quite a few functions for us, and she's had grown men welling up, with her story and why Gareth Maureen and her got involved in setting up this charity in Gareth's name. The story's fantastic, and it's a funny thing. It's the little things that matter. Maybe buying a dressing gown, maybe paying for petrol, paying for overnight accommodation, and I think it's a people's charity as well.
Sir Gareth and Brynmor, we crafted a beautiful roast here, the Sir Gareth Edwards Cancer Charity Roast. This is a Brazilian. It's gorgeous. It's not dissimilar to you. It's a muscular profile. It's robust, but it's silky and sophisticated. So we created this, look, in your honour.
Thank you, James. Yeah.
Thanks to both of you. Enormously grateful for your time. An enormous source of inspiration.
James, thank you for your support, like a lot of people around Wales. Without that support, we couldn't exist. So thank you. Diolch yn fawr I ti.
I can only echo that, James, and thanks for inviting us to meet with you today. And it's a pleasure to support you as a business and to support Gareth Charity, two wonderful organisations. That's fantastic. Thank you. Cheers, James.
Diolch.